Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram. Sri Satchidananda Sadguru Sai Nath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Satchidananda Sadguru Sai Karnananda Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Satchidananda Jagat Guru Bal Yoginath Sai Narayan Maharaj Ki Jai. Sai Leelavati Mata Ki Jai. Sri Sai Satcharitra, Chapter 14. Ratanji Wadia of Nanded, Sant Mauli Sahib, Dakshina Mimansa. In the last chapter, we described how Baba's words and deeds cured many incurable diseases. Now we shall describe how Baba blessed Mr. Ratanji Wadia and gave him an issue. The life of the saint is naturally sweet. His various doings, eating, walking, and his natural sayings are also sweet. His life is bliss incarnate. Sai gave the bliss to his devotees as a means of remembrance. He gave them various stories of duty and action which ultimately led them to a true religion. His object may be that people should live happily in the world, but they should ever be cautious and achieve the object of their life, that is self-realization. We get human body as a result of merits in the past births, and it is a worthwhile that with its aid we should attain devotion and liberation in this life. So we should never be lazy, but always be on alert to gain our goal of life. If you hear the Leelas, the stories of Sai, daily you will always see him. Day and night you will remember him in your mind. When you assimilate Sai in this way, your mind will lose its fickleness, and if you go on its manner, it will finally be merged in pure consciousness. Ratanji of Nanded. Now let us come to the main story of this chapter. In Nanded, in an Nizam state, there lived in a Parsi mill contractor and a trader by name Ratanji Shahpur Wadia. He had amassed a large amount of money and had acquired fields and lands. He had cattle, horses, and conveyance, and was very prosperous. In all outward appearances, he looked very happy and contented, but inwardly he was not so. Providential dispensation in such that no one in this world is completely happy and rich. Ratanji was no exception to this. He was liberal and charitable, gave food and clothing to the poor, and helped all in various ways. The people took him to be a good and happy man, but Ratanji thought himself miserable, as he had no issue, male or female, for a long time. Just a kirtana singing glories of the Lord without love or devotion, song without rhythmical accompaniments, Brahman without the sacred thread, proficiency in all arts without common sense, pilgrimage without repentance, and ornamentation without a necklace are futile and useless. So is a householder without an issue. Nathaniel always brooded on this matter and said in his mind, would God be ever pleased to grant me a son? He thus looked morose and did not relish his food day and night. He was enveloped with anxious anxiety as to whether he would ever be blessed with a son. He had a great regard for his Dasganu Maharaj. He saw him and opened his heart before him. Dasganu advised him to go to Shirdi, take Baba's darshan, fall at his feet, and seek his blessings and pray for the issue. Adanji liked the idea and decided to go to Shirdi. After some days, he went to the Shirdi, took Baba's darshan, and fell at his feet. Then, opening a basket, he took a beautiful garland of flowers and placed it around Baba's neck and offered him a basket of fruits with reverence. He then sat near Baba and prayed to him, saying, many persons who find themselves in difficult situations come to you. When you believe, please do not disappoint me. Immediately hearing this, I have an anxious thought. Your feet, please do not disappoint me. Sai Baba then asked him for dakshina of rupees 5, which Ratanji intended to give, but added that he had already received rupees 314 from him, and that he should pay the balance only. Hearing this, Ratanji was rather puzzled. He could not make out as to what Baba meant. That was the first time he thought that he had to come to Shidi, and how was it that Baba said that he had earlier got rupees 314 from him. He could not resolve the riddle, but sat at Baba's feet and gave the balance of the dakshina received gave the dakshina, asked Vada explained to Baba fully as to why he came, sought his help, and prayed that Baba should bless him with a son. Baba was moved and told him not to worry, and that thence onward his bad days had ended. Then gave him Modi, placed his hand on his head, and praised him, saying that Allah God will satisfy your heart's desire. Then, after taking Baba's leave, Ratanji returned to Nanded and told Das Ganu everything that took place at Shooty. He said that everything went on well there, that he got Baba's darshan and blessings with Prasad, that there was a one thing which he could not understand. Baba said to him that he had got rupees 314 before. Please explain as to what Baba meant by this remark. He said to Das Ganu, I never went to Shirdi before, and how could I give him the sum to which Baba referred? To ask Ganu too, it was a puzzle, and he thought much over it for a long time. Sometimes afterwards, it struck to him that Ratanji had received some days ago at a Mohammedan sent by name Mauli Sahib in his house and had spent some money for his reception. This Mauli Sahib was a well-known saint of Nanded and worked as a porter. When Ratanji decided to go to Shirdi, this Mauli Sahib turned up at Ratanji's house. Ratanji knew him and loved him, so he gave a small party in his honor. Das Ganu got from Ratanji the Yadi memo of expense of this reception, and everybody was wonderstruck to see that expense amounted to exactly rupees 314, nothing more, nothing less. They all came to know that Baba was omniscient, that though he lived in Shirdi, he knew what happened outside, far away from Shirdi. In fact, he knew the past, present, and future, and could not identify himself with anybody. In this particular instance, how could he know the reception given to a Mauli Sahib and the amount spent there unless he could identify himself with him and be one with him? Ratanji was satisfied with explanation, and his faith in Baba was confirmed, and in due time he was blessed with a son and his joy knew no bounds. It is said that he had in all dozen issues, out of which only four survived. And a footnote towards the end of this chapter, it is stated that Baba told Rao Bahadur Hari Vinayak Sathe after the death of his first wife to remarry, that he would get a son, Adi Sathe, marry second, and the first two issues by this wife were daughters, and he therefore felt very despondent. But the third issue was a son. Baba's word did come true, and he was satisfied. Dakshina Mimansa. Now we should close this chapter with a few points about Dakshina. Dakshina, it is a well-known fact that a Baba always asks for Dakshina from a people who went to see him. Somebody may ask a question: if Baba was a fakir and perfectly non-attached, why should he ask for Dakshina and care for money? We shall consider this question thoroughly now. First, for the long time, Baba did not take anything. He stored burnt matches and filled his pocket with them. And he never asked anything from anybody, whether he be a devotee or otherwise. If anybody placed before him a paisa or a two, he purchased oil or a tobacco. He was fond of tobacco, and he always smoked a bidi or a chillum and a earthen pipe. Then some persons thought that they should not go for the sense empty-handed, and therefore place some copper coins before Baba. If a paisa was placed before him, he used to pocket it, and if it was a 2 paisa coin, it was returned immediately. Then after Baba's fame, he spread far and wide, and Baba began to flock in numbers, and Baba began to ask Dakshina from them. It is said in the Shruti Veda, the puja of the gods, it is not complete unless a golden coin was offered. If a coin was necessary in the puja of the gods, why should it be not so in the puja of the saints also? Ultimately, the Shastras laid it down that when one goes to the sea god, king, saint, or a guru, god, king, saint, or guru. He should not go empty handed, he should offer something, preferably money. In this connection, we may notice the precepts recommended by the Upanishads. The Young Upanishad says that the Lord Prajapati advised the gods man demons by one letter Da. The gods understood by this letter that they should practice Dhamma, that is self control. The men thought or understood that they should practice Dana, charity. The demons understood that they should practice Daya, compassion. To man, charity or giving was recommended. As a teacher in the Taittiriya Upanishad exhorts his pupils to practice charity and other virtues. Regarding charity, he says, give with faith, or even without it, give with magnanimity, that is, liberally. Give with modesty, awe, and sympathy in order to teach the devotees the lesson of charity and to remove their attachment to money. And thus to purify their minds, Baba extracted dakshina from them. But there was this peculiarity, as Baba said, that he had to give back 100 times more of what he received. There are many instances in which this has happened. To quote an instance, Mr. Ganpat Rao quote us, the famous actor says in this Marathi autobiography that upon Baba's praising him often for the dakshina, he emptied his money bag before him. The result of this was Mr. Boda says that in later life he had lacked money as it came to him abundantly. As in latter life he never lacked money as it came to him abundantly. There were also secondary meaning of dakshina in many cases in which Baba did not want any pecuniary amount. To quote two instances, Baba asked rupees 15 as a dakshina from Professor G.G. Narke, who replied that he did not have even a pie. Then Baba said, I know you have no money, but you are reading Yoga Vasishtha. Give me dakshina from that. Giving dakshina in this case means deriving lessons from the book and lodging them in the heart where Baba resides. In the second case, Baba asked a certain lady, Mrs. R. A. Thalkar, to give rupees 6 as a dakshina. The lady felt pained as she had nothing to give. Then her husband explained to her that Baba wanted 6 inner enemies, lust, anger, avarice, etc., to be surrendered to him. Baba agreed with this explanation. It is to be noted that though Baba collected a lot of money by dakshina, he would distribute this whole amount the same day and the next morning. He would become a poor fakir as usual when Baba took his Mahasamadhi. Even after receiving thousands and thousands of rupees as a dakshina for about 10 years, he had only a few rupees in his possession. In short, Baba's main object in taking dakshina from his devotees was to teach them the lessons of renunciation and purification. Postscript. Mr. B.V. Dev of Thana, retired Mamladar and a great devotee of Baba, had written an article on the subject Dakshina in Sri Sai Leela magazine, volume number 2, page number 6, verse 26, in which he says as follows: Baba did not ask any dakshina from all. If some gave dakshina unasked, he sometimes accepted and at other times refused it. He asked it for certain devotees only. He never demanded it from those devotees who thought in their minds that Baba should ask for it and then they should pay it. If anybody offered it against his wish, he never touched it, and if he kept it there, he asked him to take it away. He asked for some small or big amounts from devotees according to their wish, devotion, and convenience. He asked it even from women and children. He never asked from all the rich for that, nor from all the poor. Baba never got angry from those from whom he asked dakshina, and who did not give it. If any dakshina was sent through some friend who forgot to hand over the same to Baba, he reminded him of it and made him pay it. On some other occasions, Baba used to return some from the amount tendered as dakshina and ask the donor to guard it. or keep it in a shrine for worship. This procedure benefited the donor or devotee immensely. If anybody offered more than he originally intended to give, he returned the extra amount. Sometimes he asked more dakshina from some than what they originally intended to give. And if they had no money, asked them to beg or borrow from others. He demanded dakshina 3 or 4 times a day. Out of the money collected as Dakshina, Baba spent very little for his own sake, that is, for buying chillum, smoking pipe, and fuel for his duni, sacred fire, and all the rest. He distributed as charity in varying proportions to various persons. All the paraphernalia of the Shirdi Sansthan was brought by various rich devotees. At an instance and suggestions of Radhakrishna Mai, Baba always used to get wild and scolded those who brought any costly rich articles. He said to Mr. Nanasab Chandurkar that all his property consisted of one lakh coupon, cod piece, and one stray piece of cloth or one kafni and tamarind. And that all the people troubled him with bringing all these unnecessary costly articles. Women and wealth are the two main obstacles in the way of our Paramatma spiritual life. And Baba had provided in Shirdi two institutions, that is Dakshina and the Radhakrishna Mai for whenever they came to him. He demanded Dakshina from them and asked them to go to the school Radhakrishna Mai's house. If they stood these two tests well, that is, if they showed that they were free from attachment for women and wealth, their progress in spirituality was rapid and assured by Baba's grace and blessings. Master Dev has also quoted passages from the Gita and Upanishads and shown that a charity given in a holy place or a holy personage conduces to the donor's welfare. What is more holy than Shirdi, and it is the presiding deity Sai Baba. Quote to Sri Sai, peace be to all. Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sai Nath Maharaj ki jai. Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sai Gurnananda Maharaj ki jai. Sri Sachidananda Jagat Guru Bal Yogidas Sai Narayan Maharaj ki jai. Sai Lilavati Mata ki jai. Om Sai Ram.